Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira is this weekend, and I gotta be honest with you, with everything going on in the world, it's kind of hard to care about this, especially because this isn't even like a real championship fight. This is because the lightweight champion Islam Makhachev said "see ya" and vacated the title, and now you got a featherweight coming up, and I think his knockout power translates. So, it's going to be different than, like, let's say a Volkanovski coming up, because Volkanovski doesn't have knockout power. Ilia does, and I think it will translate. But ultimately, still featherweight coming up, skipping the line, getting a title shot. And then you got Charles Oliveira over here, who, he just lost to Arman not too long ago. Not Charles, but Arman, he pulled out against Islam, but you also gotta get him in there eventually for this strap, and maybe he'll fight the winner. Who knows how that goes? But this fight, in my opinion, the way it shakes out is Ilia Topuria knocks out Charles Oliveira. Historically speaking, Charles Oliveira is too easily hit, and Topuria is a pretty accurate guy. He's not like some lummox who swings big and misses big. Like, he's a pretty accurate guy. He has long combinations. He talks about how he works on that and how a lot of guys in MMA don't work on that, and he's right about that. And Ilia is also the younger guy, more momentum on his side, all of these things. But it still feels meh. It doesn't feel like this big mega event whenever this guy fights. He's not Conor McGregor. You guys need to stop with that. I want people to really understand what they're saying when they say that nonsense. I mean, listen, Conor McGregor was an automatic $1 million pay-per-view when he had the belt. Ilia has the belt, or at least he had it. He had the featherweight championship. You know what I'm saying? And Conor was doing 1 million. That Aldo pay-per-view when he was fighting Aldo for the belt, that did over 1 million pay-per-view buys. So, Ilia's got to show us something. If he wants that comparison that Ilia Topuria is the next Conor McGregor, the next star of the sport, we got to see some more, because I'm not seeing it. I'm sorry. If you look at everyone who Charles has fought, whether he's won or lost, guys like Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler, all of these guys, he gets hurt and he gets hit. Islam Makhachev, he got dropped, The trick is Islam Makhachev, when he dropped Charles Oliveira with the hook, he followed him to the ground. When everybody else drops him, they get scared, and they tiptoe into the shark-infested jiu-jitsu waters that is, engaging with Charles Oliveira on the floor. But Islam didn't care. Islam just said, he dove right in, went to half guard, didn't even get all the way to side control, went to half guard, and squeezed his head off, bro. You know what I mean? Like, he grabbed that head and arm and he squeezed his head off. Charles forced the tap. Come on. And I think Ilia's going to do the same thing if he so has to. I think Ilia Topuria, I would be surprised if Ilia Topuria drops Charles and he, like, hesitates at all. I think Ilia's going to follow it up. He's going to dive right in. And that's what you have to do against Charles Oliveira. You can't let him get his bearings back after you've hurt him. You dive in, you try to do what you can. You're the one with the momentum. You're the one who you should be strong on top, right? Like, that should be something that you work on being, right? Is strong, heavy on top, balanced, being able to control position. That's what you want to be. So you should be that. And I think Ilia could do that. I think he could not look lost on the ground against Charles Oliveira, especially if it's coming from a knockout, or knockdown, rather. Does anybody feel the same way? I mean, do you think Ilia Topuria is that star? I don't, because it's not translating to pay-per-views. Conor McGregor, his success, that era when the UFC couldn't stop announcing good things, the UFC would 100% be talking about whether or not, these pay-per-views were generating a million pay-per-view buys. The fact is that they haven't been for years now at this point. And, Conor was kind of the only one that could do that. Ronda did it a little bit, but Conor took it and he did it mad times. He just kept doing it. And to the point where, you can create other stars off the backs of people, you know what I mean? I mean, Usman got pretty close up there. I know Usman did, I want to say Usman and Colby did 800,000 just off the top of my head. I think he broke 1 million with Masvidal. Masvidal's another guy. Just from talking Conor's name, these guys got more hits. From the trickle down of McGregor being the star that he was, every other fighter in the UFC felt that rub. The UFC was just different. It was probably peak, to be honest with you, in terms of just star making fights and hype. It wasn't always that hype. The hype and you always had great fighters in the UFC. You always had the Chuck Liddells, the Tito Ortiz, the Randy Couture's, a little bit later, the George St. Pierre's, the Anderson Silvas. You always had these guys, Rampage Jacksons, stars in the sport, right? Rashad Evans and things like that. You always had that. But when Conor came, it was different. And all this stuff right here, all these press conferences, that was not really a thing. The suit wearing, now everybody wants to wear a suit. He's got the, you know what I mean? He want to be like Conor. And that's Charles. Respect to Charles. Charles was here before Conor. But, you could see the influence that this guy has. And, I know this is a bit of a tangent, but we're talking about the guy who's supposed to be the next Conor, right? We're talking about the guy who's supposed to be the next Conor and Ilia Topuria. People say he's better than Conor. You want to say he's better than Conor in the cage, you could say that. We haven't seen enough of Conor in the cage, to be honest with you. He left too early and he went and fought Floyd, and I believe that was when the prime died. And that was the beginning of the end, because after that, he fell into a depression. He started drinking the whiskey. He comes into the Khabib fight angry with vitriol, when that wasn't Conor. Conor didn't have that against Aldo. Conor didn't have that against Eddie Alvarez. I think if Conor would have just stayed in the UFC after the Eddie fight, let's say he fights Nate Diaz for a third time. After that, he gets a little bit sharper, a little bit better. He's constantly training, right? The momentum is going. Wins the Diaz trilogy, comes back. Maybe he fights Tony Ferguson, Tony Ferguson can get hit. That left hand lands. Tony gets dropped, But Tony could win that fight too, But even if Conor starts losing some fights, he would have stayed active at what he does. He's not a boxer. He would have stayed active in the realm of fighting, with the kicks, with the flowy, with the movement. It just would have been something else. But I digress on that point. Ilia Topuria, to me, in the cage, he's special, but in terms of wanting to see him fight because of his personality, or maybe making you or hyping a fight, right? This fight hasn't been hyped up because of Topuria. We haven't heard much talk that's hyped up this fight. It's just kind of the title fight in the division, and Charles is a star as well, but this isn't a super hyped fight. Plus, I think most people think that Ilia Topuria wins this fight too. I want to say that. I would be shocked if Charles Oliveira wins, but I've been shocked many times in this sport. It's a crazy sport. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. Whether you agree, disagree, it does not matter. Just join the discussion, follow for more, and of course, leave a like leave a like if you enjoyed the time spent. It's been so long, man. Gotta be more consistent. I'm gonna try to, but it's hard, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I said in the beginning of the video, and I'm running out of time, so I'll just say it quick. But seeing what's going on in the world, bro, all these wars, and just it's basically we're living in World War III. It's happening now. Hate to break it to you, but like, this is really, it's really happening, and I gotta get on here and I gotta talk about this nonsense. I gotta pretend like I care about this. Anyways, peace.